Hi, this is a lovely marsh, salt marsh area of southern England between Chichester and Portsmouth. And this particular photograph I took at a place called Bosham. It's primarily yachting, boating. The whole area, it's quite a large area, it's called Chichester Harbour. And it includes places such as Hayling Island, Southbourne, Bosham and Chichester. A lovely area. There's not a lot in the photograph to paint actually. It's more sky and just flat salt marshes with the tide out and a creek with just a bit of seawater left in it. A few boats here and there. And in the distance there are quite a few yachts and masts, but no detail. And some buildings that I can highlight by scraping out, I hope, on the horizon. So basically just a flat area with very few verticals. So we'll have to invent some. Right, as usual, 2-inch hake, wet the paper, a good slosh. So that when the paper expands, it expands uniformly and we can reclip it. And it's a great way of keeping the paper flat without actually stretching it with brown paper adhesive tape, which is a bit time consuming. But the paper is £130 Fabriano and it's fairly forgiving. If you're a competent painter, or you will end up as one, you will probably want to use heavier weight, rougher papers, which are much more forgiving, like Arches, Marsh, French paper, very good. Right, well that's wet. I'll put in some raw sienna. I'll describe the stuff as I go if you've not seen any of these videos before. Lemon yellow, raw sienna, alizarin crimson, light red, ultramarine and Payne's grey. I think I've left any out, light red, light yellow. All student quality colours made by Winsor & Newton. They come in a 21mm tube. They're very good value for money. They do all the jobs that you need them to do. You don't really need artist quality. And the colours that I choose are quite a standard palette for this sort of work, and you can change it according to your taste. So we'll put in a bit of a blue sky because it was quite a blue blustery day when we went there. We go there quite often. Right, nice bit of ultramarine on there. So we'll just float it in, coming right down to the horizon. I have put some marks in here to indicate where I'm going to put various stuff. It's really just to mark the horizon. Just put some more blue up there. So the bits in between, the light areas, will indicate light clouds, I hope. Always have a cloth handy to mop up the surplus water on your brush, because the hake, as you know, carries or conceals a huge amount of water if you're not careful. And when the paper's wet and you want to add more wet paint to it, it doesn't really register, it just floats all over the place. So you need to be aware of that. Now the paper's stretched a bit, so I'm just going to pull it tight and start to put in some background, but I don't want to do it with the paper too wet now, because I want to keep that fairly clean along there, the horizon line. So there's a slight pencil line there with some trees above it, which I'm going to put in now. The landscape itself, the foreground, really lends itself to the hake. It will take no time at all to cover that with a texture. Well, it's relative. So the horizon, blue-green, so I'll use a bit of raw sienna, a bit of ultramarine. Want it on the cool side. fairly stiff because I'm going to have to lift out some colour on this. So I'll exaggerate some of this. I'll make the trees bigger than they actually are, so that I can etch the paint out when it's partly dry. Right, keep the brush lovely and straight for this. The distant shores, and then a bit darker. So I could probably add a bit of Payne's grey into that, a bit of lemon yellow, but still keep it on the blue side. Probably still not dark enough, so it's bleeding into the colour underneath, into the wet paper underneath, but I'm going to put some marshes over that, so it probably won't make any difference. Oops. Right, let's get into some harder stuff in there. Right. I'm going to put in some light yellow underneath that now, because that is an area that is catching a lot of sun from the photograph. Bit of raw sienna mixed in with it as well. The brush is split. I'm going to keep some of that unpainted if I can. To add a bit of sparkle. And also if I put it too close to the blue background, it might bleed into this area, and I don't want that to happen. Right there. So that's, if I leave bits unpainted, it will help to lighten that whole area across there, and that sparkle will just indicate a bit of sun. Now you can vary with a bit of blue, so you can show some shadow in there as well, being cast from the sun behind the clouds. You've got to vary, make this interesting by texturing. Okay. Right, now while that's wet in the background, I'm going to take my card and I'm going to just show some boats and bits and pieces in there. I'll show some masts. Don't know if that's working there. I'm scratching the paper and I don't really want to do that. But these are all boats along here. Let's just tighten that up a little bit. Ah, yeah. Just trying to show some flicks of interest. It's so far away that you can't really see what really interested me in the scene originally was just the skyline here, or the landscape here, trying to show a lot of distance, a very very flat area, and there are buildings here and there, but it's difficult to paint them in. It's easy to just scrape them out afterwards. I'm just showing some interest there. Don't know if that quite works. Right, I'll get into the landscape proper now. So we'll have darker colours here. And there will be some hard or some dark pieces in there which will indicate the shadow side of the marshes where the landscape drops away into a creek. So there is a creek coming here. I'll just put that in. I'll put that in I think, burnt umber and Payne's grey. I don't want it to show as grey. I want it to show as a warm dark. Even put a bit of red in there, a bit of light red. Right, don't want that too wet. Right, let's see. Let's just put it in. There's lots of this blue, and I can only do an impression of this. I can't show everything. I'm just trying to give an appearance of there being a lot of little banks of this creek here. But I'll put some blue bits in there as well. So this being warmer here, hopefully will give the impression of it being closer to you. It's called aerial perspective. Right, I'm going to dry that off, and then I'm going to put some blue in to represent the sky reflecting in the little creek here. To the right of this picture going here, there's the Bosham Sailing Club, and behind where I took the photograph, there's this lovely village called Bosham. It's slightly off the beaten track. There's one road down to it, I remember, several pubs, an arcade which has a resident artist, superb artist, doing marine stuff mostly. It's not surprising. A lovely area, and in fact one of the largest houses in the village. I won't name it, but it's owned by the brother of a very close friend, and we went down to photograph it, and I did it as a commission, painted as a commission, an oil painting, big oil painting, for his 60th birthday. He'll know who I am if he ever watches this, because his sister certainly watches these. In fact, she owns about 30 of my paintings. I'm glad to say. Right, I'll emphasise the blue a little bit. Just flood it in, and it'll dry lighter. There's a little bits coming up here. A bit lighter blue. I'll just some in there. And once I've done those, I don't want to really go into them with some bits of blue coming across here. there. Then loads of green. Right. Okay, give that a dry. It's a lovely day here in London, South London at the moment. It's a bit clouds and sun, freezing cold. I had to take my car in for its annual service and MOT this morning, so I had my bike in the back and I rode back in about 2 degrees. I'm still cold from it. Alright, okay, let's get the old greens in then. So we'll try and make this look a bit random now. A bit of darker green. So the shadow side. Well, it's not a shadow, it's just that trying to indicate some shadow cast on the landscape from the sun behind clouds, but I haven't really put any clouds in that are noticeable. Various colours, let's put a bit of raw sienna in there. There's some green coming through into the foreground. And it's quite darkish, it's a bit mixed with warmer colours in there, a bit of red. Oh, sorry, I keep hitting the camera, it's by my left eyebrow. Raw sienna. This is coming into not the beach area. You have to watch your car on the road behind me here because sometimes you get very high tides and people get their cars stranded. Alright, get some more darks in there. Right, I'm going to break up my brush now. Don't worry about damaging it. They're very, very good natured, and considering what we do to them, they last a long time. They improve with age. Right, now I'm going to dot that in the wet bits or damp paint and just try to show some texture in here, because this is the little bit of the edge of the road where you can drop your boat into the water from here, the small yacht. Alright, let's go back into the normal hake, and I want to put in more darks in there now. Just dip my brush, the tips of my brush. When your brush splits, as it does, just gently dip the tip in the water and then work it on the palette until it all comes together again. So we're just touching now. There's quite a bit around there. Right, the brush is a bit wet. just indicating a bit of a bank there because there's the blue water in there. Let's get that bit dark there. Right, I can put a little bit more green in. Poking through. Right, now I'm going to try and put a couple of little bits of boat and stuff in here. I will put them in dark. They are actually quite light, but I need to do a contrast. So a bit of artistic license here. So we'll put a bit of a boat on stranded on the water there. Oops. What did I do that for? Don't know much about boats really, being a townie. Right, so just an impression of something going on there. Some holes. You probably can't see this from the film, but I'm just showing some bits and pieces. Just a bit of detail there. Oh, sorry, done it again. But, okay. Right, I don't think I can do much more to that. Good exercise of painting dam bag all. Bags are nothing. A little signature somewhere. Right, so I'll edit this. I'll put in the original photograph and at the beginning and end, and what this looks like in a mount. It'll look much better in the mount. In fact, I'll show you that now. So there we are. So really it's quite a difficult scene because there's not a lot of interest in it other than the beautiful flat landscape and the big sky. But I've left the sky understated rather than compete with the bit underneath it. So I hope you like that. It's another marshland scene. I'm a sucker for them. I do love doing them. And I hope as I do more I'll get better at showing them. As you know, I haven't been back at watercolours for very long, having spent many years doing oil paints. But I do love doing them. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.